Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And somehow we are on part 10 of Auridon already. Last time out, we built this medical complex that you can see down here with a couple of hospitals, one of the Japanese unique content creator pack buildings as well in there, which I think fitted in pretty well. And then we also built up this little pocket of high density residential as well, so just a little development here, which I think has fitted into this space quite nicely, as we can see buildings burning down in the background. So we're just starting to layer up that population and layer up that height as we head towards the downtown in this direction. Now, before I come on to today's episode, I did want to do one little piece of naming. And for my top tier patrons, I am going to name buildings after them. And one thing that did occur to me after this episode is that I have a patron called Witch Doctor, and so I feel like it should be highly appropriate to name this medical area after them. So we are going to just put in a little district into this area here. And this is going to be called the Witch Doctor Medical Centre, after one of my top tier patrons, and I just can't thank you enough for your support. So I hope you like it, but I just thought it was too good a combination to miss out on. So there we go, we've got our Witch Doctor Medical Centre, and we will be doing more naming after my top tier patrons in future episodes. So now, just before we begin, I would remind you to hit that like button if you do enjoy this video, and drop me a comment as well. Let me know what you think about it. So coming on to today's episode, I've had a little check of different services, and we're generally all right on most things. We could definitely use some more libraries, which we will come on to. But education is just about all right for the neighbourhoods that we've got. Police coverage and actually jails is now fine as well. Fire isn't too bad. There's some pockets where it could be a little bit better, but it's manageable for now. And now that we've got our big healthcare clinic as well, there's no health issues there. And just a quick check on traffic as well shows we're actually at 85%, so we do still have some of these red areas. We're not really getting any backup, they are just busy. So I'm not too worried about traffic at the moment, and the new intersection as well has held up pretty well, so there doesn't seem to be any major traffic problems. However, I do want to help people out a little bit more, because at the moment we only have one entrance into our city off the main highway, which is this junction right here, and that is going to be a problem very soon, to be honest. I'm surprised it's not a problem already at a population of 12,000, but it is going to become a problem as we start to build up more high density going towards the downtown. So the first thing that I'd like to do today is build out another connection onto the highway from this road here. So what we are going to do is just grab the same road that we are using there, which doesn't have parking on it, which is exactly what I want, as this is going to function as a principal collector road. So I don't really want zoning on it. I definitely don't want parking on it. I want to keep it clear for traffic to flow nice and easily around it. Now we've come straight out of this roundabout, so what I am going to do, just to keep the Auridon curvy road vibe continuing on, is I'm just going to bend it round slightly like that, just to give it just a little bit of shape to it and a little bit of interest. And future planning as well here, I'm thinking that this road is probably going to go over this junction. So unlike the other junction that we have where it is a roundabout and they'd need to go round the roundabout to get to the other side, obviously we've given them a few different options there as well. This one is going to go straight over. So I'm just going to bring the road out straight for a little bit further here, and then we'll bring it up and over the highway. Now I have just left little gaps either side of the highway here, because what I am going to do is a Parclo here, or a park clover leaf. I think that's the name anyway. I may be wrong. there we go. So it is just a really basic intersection. And if it gets too busy, we may have problems with traffic here, but I've just left it without traffic lights for the moment. They've got dedicated turning lanes in each direction. So, I mean, for now, it's definitely going to suffice because there's nothing really out here, but people are using it already, and it definitely will become busier once we start to develop up in this area. But I'm planning on having another exit somewhere about here in the middle as well, so that we've got multiple routes for people to get on and off the main highway. So yeah, that should help traffic flow a bit. We've now got 2 ways in and out of the city, which is quite exciting. And what I will do for now as well, although this road won't stay exactly like this, I am just going to continue this on and join it up with this road up here. Although I think this will change once we know exactly what infrastructure is going to be going out there. Now we do also have a fair bit of residential demand. However, what I do want to do today is look at building out a nature reserve park area around the lake here. And we are going to put a few different things into it. So the first thing that I would like to do here is a little bit of terraforming. So this map, as I'm sure you can see, is pretty big and flat across the whole space. So there's no real hills. There's no kind of bumpy terrain like that. There are slight undulations all over it, so it's not completely flat, but there's no big scenic points, I suppose, that would feature on this map. But what I do want to do here, and it's not going to be a big scenic point, is create a little bit of a mound so that we can do a feature park. The asset that I really want to put out here is something a little bit different to what I would ordinarily do, and that is this business park arch. So the plan ultimately is to create just a small mound here that the arch can sit on, that if you're driving along this highway, you'd have a fantastic view of it there, but also when you're sitting in that arch on top of this mound, you've got the most amazing view over the skyline, which will be out in this direction over here. So that is the plan, is like this outer skirts park with a big, massive, crazy, modern monument on it that people can come and sit and enjoy absolutely amazing views across the whole city. That's the idea that we're going for. So first things first, I am just going to create a little bit of a man-made mound. So this is absolutely not respecting the topography at all, but hopefully it's going to produce something pretty cool in the end. And as I'm sure we all know, terrain is not the easiest thing to work with at all in this game. So now that's a little bit high for me, so I'm just going to bring this down and bring the brush strokes down, and we're just going to smooth that out. I think that's more the height that we want to settle at for the park. So it's just a little bit of height, but not too much. And in fact, actually, I might just bring it up just a tiny bit more. And the reason why I'm not using the perfect circle here is just so that we get some slight interest in the terrain. And I mean, there's obviously a lot of work that needs to be done to this to tidy it all up afterwards. So just bear with the build, because at the moment it's going to look awful. But hopefully by the end it is going to look pretty cool. So yeah, I think that height feels about right, and that should give us a really nice little platform. You know, not super high, but definitely high enough to see this skyline developing all over here. So I'm just going to use one of the bog standard 2-lane roads for this, and I'm going to put it in just about there, but we may have to move this in a second, and we'll get the business park in like that. So now I just want to make sure that this angle is right. So the downtown, it's slightly too far away to see easily, but the downtown, the pinnacle of the downtown is going to be right here, although the skyline will be spread across this whole island in little pockets. But the main central business district is going to be sitting right about there. So what I want to make sure is that this arch is pointing right towards that, so that if you're sat in the middle of it, it's completely centred towards where this main downtown area is, which that feels about right like that. And then equally, when you're coming down this highway here, you've got this nice, you've got obviously the solar updraft tower over there, and then you'll also come through and have this business park. mound right in front of you, monument right in front of you as well. So I think the angle of that is sitting absolutely fine. So what we want to do now is make this land look half decent. And then, yeah, if we smooth out a nice big slope up to it, then we can do a little bit of terraforming to make it slightly more interesting. But what I want is kind of this, yeah, quite a man-made looking structure, but a nice smooth slope up to it so that we can do some really cool path decals and landscaping and stuff in front of this monument. And then what we can do, let's definitely turn brushstroke down, is come in and just make this, the back of this cliff, some slightly more different shapes than at the moment, obviously not like this, but what we can do after that is smooth it out. And that just helps to break up the harshness of the cliff there, so it's a little bit more moundy. And what we will do as well is put some rock decals all around this to make that just texture just look a little bit nicer there. So there's a couple of harsh corners there, but we can definitely cover that up with some rock decals. So the rocks that I actually want to use are workshop rocks, because the vanilla ones could work here, but I don't think they're as nice as these ones. So I am going to use these, and these are the sandy grey surface rocks, which again you can find in the Auridon asset list in the description. But what I do want to do is use, yeah, quite a few of these all over this back part to cover up this cliff texture. Actually, to enhance this cliff texture is more what I'm going for here. So that is the general pattern that we are going for here, and I have used a couple of the vanilla ones to give us a little cliff edge here, and I've just noticed that's peeking onto the road there, so let's just adjust that back just a tiny bit. So you kind of drive past this quite harsh cliff edge, sort of rock mound essentially that this park is sitting on. That's the type of thing that we are trying to go for here. So I think from that point of view it looks fine, and what we will do is come in with a little bit more detailing, some undergrowth in amongst these rocks just to give it a little bit more texture, even a little bit more interest, and some of the smaller rocks as well just dotted in there too. And then what I have done here is done essentially like a bit of a rock fall down from the monument down into the lake here as well, which I just think helps to make it look slightly more natural, even though we know it's not in the landscape here. And then that also gives an edge as well to our forestry area that you can see here. So it's kind of symbolising the edge of that, and then the start of the park, which will be round the other side. Now, clearly we need to bring this road down. So actually what I am going to do here is convert this to a 1-unit road, just so we're using a smaller footprint for getting this road down the hill. And what I would like to do is essentially curve it down. So let's just have a little look actually at the grade using the multi-network tool here to see what it is. And some of these definitely wouldn't pass the test of safety. So let's just alter that a little bit and make that just a tiny bit more realistic there. So if we check again on this basis, now that we've altered that, hopefully that'll be a little bit smoother. And yeah, it's not too bad. And I'm just wondering if we do smooth this out, what it will do to the terrain. Thinking because the top bits are fairly severe, it's not going to look good. That says 16.5 and it doesn't look that bad to me. Let's just try it and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we've got a 9.6 grade, which is pretty steep, but manageable. So I think we can get away with that. And then again, there's lots more opportunities for rock detailing in and amongst these roads and round that road pattern there. I think in general that looks okay. I will just straighten out some of these roads. So yeah, okay, a bit of sloping, and I think that feels a lot better. And there's lots of room here for rock decals and a bit more detailing to come in and around these roads. We definitely want some safety rails around them for sure. Being that steep up the hillside, but that works in terms of connecting it up from a road network point of view. What I would like to do in front of it, and I'm thinking Zoo Path is the best for this, is bring out a path right down from the middle of it. So it's almost like you're looking down a very heavily landscaped park is the type of thing that I would like to go for here. And again, with multi-network tool, what I am going to do is actually slope this perfectly so that we get that perfect slope down in the terrain height. And then what we will need to do here is reform the terrain around that. So there we go. So I am, reasonably happy with terraforming around that. And again, there's just lots of room for detail out the front of that. But what I would like to do before we do that is just get the rest of the park layout sorted. In terms of road network, what I would like is another connection off this road into this area here. So I think just coming out of here is fine, and we'll turn on snap in so we get a nice 90-degree angle off the main road here, and then we'll convert to our freeform road tool to give us some interest in the pattern. So I think this is going to come off and down this way, and this is essentially going to form the edge of our park area. So I am just going to scoot this in and almost parallel to this road here, like that, and then we can join it up at this point here. So it does give an alternative route from either one of these collectors. It's bringing it all the way through there. And of course we do need to join up this road to it. So let's just bring that out and join it up as well. And we'll follow the bottom of the hill, the bottom of the slope round here. Now, the park that I actually want to put in here is mainly a nature reserve. So let's put in the district to start off with. So our main park area, and it is going to cover this part and all the way down to the lake edge here, just like that. And we may actually even extend it. I am going to extend it further here. However, what we are going to come on to in this episode as well is actually doing a very small ore quarry here, which can sort of form part of the nature reserve. And I appreciate a nature reserve may not be the most intuitive place for a quarry, but I think it's going to go quite well. And I know a lot of places where they'll have old stone mines, stone quarries, sitting in amongst really beautiful landscape and beautiful park areas. So that is what I'm going to go for here as well. And it's going to be absolutely tiny. So we're not going to use the industry DLCs or buildings for that. It is simply just going to be the zoned or industry buildings, but done in a really nice way so that it looks like just a very small stone quarry area. So generally the theme of this park is going to be stone, essentially. So this is the layout for our main entrance. So I have just put in a big car park with the disabled parking out front there, and also an overflow car park across the other side of the road, and the main entrance to the nature reserve here. I mean, we say it's a nature reserve, it's a national park. That's more what we're going for here, and less of the nature reserve and more just of the park in general. But we're going to use the nature reserve theme as the main theme because there's lots that I want to do along the edge of the lake, which definitely lends itself to a nature reserve theme here. So now I have just lined up the main entrance right in line with that park running up there. So as you come through the main entrance, you'll be able to look up and into this monument archway is the general idea there. And also the idea being as well that while you're up in the archway, you've got this really nice symmetrical rundown all the way down to the main entrance there. And then obviously that view, which will turn out really nice further down the line. Now, in terms of the rest of the park, what I would like is a little bit of a kind of a main entrance reception, I guess, here at the bottom. So I've just used the Zoo Park souvenir shop, cafe and toilets actually here to create this reception area where people can grab a bite to eat, grab a souvenir, whatever takes their fancy. And I'm just using the Zoo Park tile decals here to flesh out the rest of this plaza. And I did also manage to use Bob to reduce the probability of the zoo signs turning up on these assets so that we can reset it enough that they don't show. What we can come through and do in a minute is a bit more detailing around here. I've made this into a kind of an extended square here as well, so we can put some nice flower beds in at the bottom here just to flesh that all out a little bit more and make it a little bit more fancy. And actually what I will do is, just to keep it all super symmetrical, is just bring this out this side. Okay, so it's not it's not perfectly symmetrical, but just so that we can do some more flower bed patterns and that sort of thing in this side as well, so that again when you're looking down you've got quite a nice reasonably symmetrical front to the main gate that we're seeing here. So what we'll do here is just a little bit of zoo path connection here, and then we are going to convert it into nature reserve type vibes really as we go down towards the lake here. So we'll just bring that road out straight for a little bit, and then what I'm going to do is curve it around and bring it quite close to the water's edge here. So we will just track along the top of these reeds like that. So we're just going to move these over so that we clear out a bit of a viewpoint down into the lake from the edge of the path here, because then what I would like to do is add in some of the nature reserve assets. So a campsite, essentially, just a very small campsite down by the river here. So now I've actually just had quite a big change of plan midway through the build. So I always plan these out in advance, these episodes, and 90% of the time as I'm going through I change stuff up just because I think of something that I could do better or differently as I'm going through it. And actually building something for essentially the second time I think quite often helps you realise that things didn't quite work or could be better in the first place. And that's exactly what I've just done here. But actually this is quite a significant change. So instead of having the nature reserve park here, because I just don't feel like a campsite would be adjoined to the same park that a big fancy monument would be like this. So I'm actually going to split this into two parks. So what I've done is just put in two different park areas like so. And at the bottom of the hill here, I feel like we need something pretty grand. So what I'm going to put in is actually the tax office, which can centralise really nicely with the top of that monument. And I'm going to use Bob and get rid of all of those trees for starters. So we can just remove all of those. So we've got a nice clean back here. And what I would like to use is a city park, but I'm going to use one of our gateless entrances so that essentially this tax office is going to act like the entrance to this park. So what I would like to use is a main entrance. Yeah, which is concrete. And we're just going to plop that in here. And then what we can do as well is the side entrance with concrete as well for the park. So all of this will still act like a park. But these gateless entrances just mean that we don't have to have those big, any of these sitting in the front of it, which I don't want. I want this tax office to act as essentially the gate to this park. So yeah, so there we go. So when you're looking down from here, you look straight down onto the tax office, which I think is much, much better than having the nature reserve park there. So yeah, that is an awful lot better, I think. And it will still absolutely function like a park. So you can see there we're making income from it. Let's actually whack this right up, and let's also give this some policy. So we'll definitely give it main park. And actually, because we're making really, really decent money, oh well, not right at this minute, but that is the industries that is fluctuating there, I think. Yeah, just looking at the money here, in fact, for the advertising campaign, and it does look like it's going down a lot. So let's just check city statistics on the city treasury here. And yeah, we can see we are dropping in budget, but I have just put in a load of expensive buildings. So I'm kind of thinking it's probably okay still. It's something we can keep an eye on. I mean, we've got 5.5 million, so I'm not worried. So let's just put on advertisement campaign and let's get loads more people here. So now coming on to the nature reserve, what I am going to do is just create a separate entrance for it. So in terms of a park area, let's just bring this one over slightly further over this way. And again, this is the one that is going to wrap around the lake and be on the shore there. So it will be a very, very separate area to the fancy King Garden. Kind of appropriately named there. But do you know what I'm actually thinking now, just to keep the Williams name going on, we are going to call this the Williams Memorial Park. Just in honour of our founding resident of Auridon, Siobhan Williams, and the Williams family keeping that legacy on. So there we go, Williams Memorial Park. Now coming on to the nature reserve, so let's get in our main gate again. Now what we will do in terms of path network is then connect this up, and I don't actually mind if it does join up to this national park. I think that's okay. But we will have it adjoining up to the river park that we did just start there and didn't get very far with because my brain started working in overdrive. Now yeah, coming back to this area now that we have sorted out those main entrances, I'm just going to move these trees all away from the water's edge, and then in here we are going to just put in a couple of really small campsites along the water's front. So very, very simply, we're just going to add in a tiny bit more path networks here just to flesh it out a little bit. So yeah, there we go. We've got a few different campfires. I've just put some of these hut ones along the river's edge because I think that will look nice there. And then what we can do is go ahead and place in some tents around each campfire site. There we go. We've just got small pockets of tents, like there's little plots where they're meant to be camping, but it is still very nature reserve-y, very natural feeling. And what I will do as well is come through with tree brush just to give it a bit more protection against this major park behind it here. So some quite dense trees coming in all around it to make it a little bit more secluded. And now as we level up that nature reserve as well, we'll get things like viewing platforms, which I'd like to put out around the lake, and we'll also get the fishing cabins eventually too, and the lookout towers as well, which all make really, really nice decoration around the lake. What we will do in a couple of places is probably bring out some paths down so we can have those fishing cabins on a couple of jetties and break up some of this grass and reed pattern. But for now, this will do for an infrastructure setup for the nature reserve. And if we just check this, I mean, we've got way more than enough entertainment to get us up to the next level, so there's no problem there. So just very quickly before we come on to the ore quarry, I am just going to do a little bit of detailing around the campsite here. And there we go. So there really wasn't much actually to do in this area. So I have just added in a few extra camping tables, camping chairs, some of these mats as well. Most of the detailing I've done really is actually fencing. So just adding in a lot of fencing to make it look more like there are individual campsites and locations for each of the tents. So boxing off some of these areas, not all of them, keeping some of it very open and very natural. Just seeing that is totally not straight there. So let's just adjust that to make that a little bit better. That's it. And then, yeah, we've put in a few little toilet and picnic stations, little stations for firewood along the way. More toilets, a well, and then, yeah, just a bit of broken fencing along the front. Again, a couple of picnic tables, so you can imagine campers sitting out here and looking out onto the lake with all the industry sat in the background there. So yeah, there we have the start of our nature reserve, which I think is looking pretty cute. Sat right at the bottom of this crazy monument here, just nestled into that little corner. But the other thing I do want to do within this nature reserve is this very small quarry, which is going to be situated just about here. So road network to begin with. So we've got quite a few junctions up this road already. I would like to just bring one more additional one out here. This is a collector, so it should be fine, and we're only going to be having just a very, very small quarry off here, so nothing major at all. So we'll just bring that out. Oh, and of course, let's turn tree anarchy off before we start this. Just bring that out at a nice straight angle there. And then what we will do is just bend this round ever so slightly and bring it straight out like so. And actually what I will do is just bend this round to meet up with this road as well, and that can essentially form the edge of our nature reserve there. So this is going to be quite a small road that connects the two of them. And this is where we are going to put the quarry. So again, I'm going to do just a little bit of terraforming, so not respecting the land that is here, but ultimately if there was a quarry they would be digging into it. So that is what we are going to do here. So let's get our terraforming tool. Of course, we're going to turn brush strength right down for this. I'm just going to leave it on a circle like that is absolutely fine. And what I'm going to do is just dig down really, like not that far, just a tiny bit into the ground here, and then level some sections out. So that should be absolutely plenty. We definitely don't want to go any deeper than that. And then what we need to do is just kind of rough it up a little bit. So we need to bring it back up to the surface this side, but we want it to be a kind of a gradual transition. So I'm going to keep grabbing different layers off this and pulling them out so that it makes a kind of pit area like that. And I will just clear out these trees quickly so we can see what we are working with. But that is the general gist of it. We are going to need road network down here in order to get buildings in here. So I'm going to use just the 1 unit gravel road. And I'm just going to lay out a couple of small roads at the bottom here, just so that we've got that level fixed and we know where it is. So just like that. And we can use move it to move this all around afterwards anyway. So now, as a bit of a focal point within this quarry and what we will design it around, I'm actually going to use one of these workshop rocks. Again, you could do this with the vanilla rocks, but I think this has a better effect, so I am going to revert to a workshop asset for this. And we've got, so this is absolutely giant, so you're going to need to bear with me again a little bit here. But we have got this one, which if we put it around the rock edge like this, does look like it could blend in reasonably well. And it does again go down to the lake edge there, which I think helps to kind of smooth out and blend in the rock formation that we've got down there as well. So we probably bring in more rocks, I think, around this lake. So yeah, we will use this rock asset. And then what we need to do is then reorganise the road down the bottom of it as well. So what we want is the road to come round both sides of this. We're going to have to turn off collision for this just to make sure we get it in right. And let's turn off snapping here as well, but we can bring it in and down like that. And then the assets that I would like to use in here are just the zoned or industry assets actually. So these little extractors I think are pretty cute. And we also have some slightly different ones with these ore crushers here as well, which again I think can work quite nicely down here. And I just want to use move it to make sure that we've got kind of nice level ground at the bottom here, hoping that will sink a little bit. Yeah, exactly like that. So as well, we've got the box there, but what we can do is pull that right up close to this rock so it's almost right against it, and then introduce a couple more of them as well. Yeah, we've got 2 down there and then those ones down there, and I think that's really all that we need. There are these extra blocks which just give us some props lying around, which are kind of handy. We'll just move in some of these and dot them around. And I think that is really all that is needed in the bottom of the quarry here. So what we will need to do is come through with lots more rock details around here to shape it up into a big kind of circular quarry area. But now let's see if we can get this road hooked up. So that is insanely steep here. So we do just need to bring this down and sort this road out. And yeah, to get this grade nice, we're going to need to curl it round a bit more and have a bit more of a gradual rise to the surface than we were having. So we can bring it round like that. We'll let this one be at the surface height, and then what we will do is use multi-network tool again to slope all of these. So yeah, a little bit all over the place. So there we go, 6.1% grade is absolutely fine for that. So that is how we'll do it. And again, that gives us lots of opportunities for more detailing up in those spaces. Now at the top, what I would like to do here is just have a couple of the processing buildings or again, just the zoned ones. So we're not putting in the industry DLC's assets at this particular time. However, that will go in. So without a doubt, we will have all of the individual industries in Auridon at some point. But for now, yeah, we're just going to use this really small area just as the zoned assets. So firstly, we have this asset, and then we also have this one. And both of these go together really nicely. So if we just adjust the orientation of this one, just like so, you can see there's a walkway all the way around the outside. So what I want to do here is pull this in so that we are lining up this edge of the wall with this walkway. So we are blocking off the door to this building, but where they're adjoined now, you can imagine that you can kind of walk through from within it. But at the back, that looks okay because those two bits of concrete merge in together reasonably well there. And then at the front, we obviously have the front door there. So I think this asset lends itself well to being the main entrance in. But that overall does look okay. And again, just makes it feel a little bit more consistent than just zoning them one next to the other. And then the other thing we can introduce here as well is a couple of these. So we've got this building here, which is blue. And then we also have this one, which if we reset it, it does come in as a very, very similar blue colour. So again, what we can do is use both of these assets at the back. So essentially trying to make one factory complex here that would just be the processing unit for this ore extraction here. But joining these assets together to try and make it feel a bit more cohesive than it otherwise ordinarily would. So there we go. So all we need now is a bit of detailing around there, and of course some power as well would help. I'd like all of this area to be very heavily woodland so that this kind of ore mine, ore pit comes out of absolutely nowhere. And one thing that I did just forget to do there as well is actually put in some ore. So if we look at natural resources, I just want to turn off leaving the trees on. Let's get rid of any evidence of any trees here. Yeah, it's going to lock the forestry. So what we can do is just put in a few trees, and then if we delete them out, that forestry should disappear there. So again, let's just try that, and that should get rid of some of that forestry resources there. And then what we can do is get in some ore. So I'll just turn the brush strength up to full, and we'll just place them in here so that these extractors are actually doing something. And this also gives us quite a nice texture in this area as well. So that'll be absolutely fine. And yeah, it gives us this nice slightly variation on the ruined texture here. Which I think blends in nicely with the gravel, but again, lots more detailing to be done around this ore pit just to make sure that is all nicely finished. So now just before we come on to do that detailing, I do just want to address some of the residential demand here. So I am going to go ahead and put in some residential in this particular area. And just before we do that, we do need to make sure that our metro line is continuing onwards in the direction that we want it to. So the campus is going to be over here, and that's where I want the metro to head into. But actually at the moment this angle isn't perfect for that, and it's going to head right through that residential. So what I would like to do is bring it out actually straight, which is a nice 180-degree angle off this here, and straight across the other side of the road there. Now I haven't got a pillar on that end, so let's just go ahead and move that up so we get our pillar in, just to frame that off nicely. But I think that works quite well as well because it's not perfectly symmetrical to the road, so it gives a little bit of variation there as well. It also means that this tower block now isn't symmetrical to it as well, which I quite like. Again, just having variation in angles there. So in this area, I am just going to have low density residential. This is a kind of an outer suburb. I don't want anything too tall as well immediately in front of this park. So further away, absolutely yes, but in this particular area, I think it's just low density residential is needed. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out the road network. So there we go. So we do just have a pretty basic road network there. And what we do want to introduce here as well is another elementary school. The availability is okay at the moment, but we've only got one up there. There's not any for actually any of this high density, so I think it's very much needed in this area. So I'm actually just going to place it on the corner here. And as always, we will come through and extend the playground and make it look much better than it is just plopping it in just like that. And of course, we do want parks in this area as well. So I'm actually thinking I might bring in a large playground. But what we will do is actually just put it back in the middle of these blocks. We can get it to a point where it thinks it's connected to the road. Well, okay, so what we might just have to do there is just bring out a very, very tiny bit of road straight out just like that so that we can get this in the middle and it still thinks it's connected but is nicely in the middle of where all of these houses are going to go. So I'll just go ahead and connect up these connections so that we have good walkability through to the park. And I have just extended that round at the back there to provide a little bit of variation, and we can go ahead and put some more props in there as well just to deck all that up. But that should be okay. Considering we've got the big park area over here, I think that will be absolutely fine. So let's go ahead and get in our low density residential. So there we go. And what I have done is just use the University Content Creator Pack housing, but the slightly nicer versions, the ones that look a little bit more well maintained. I've dotted in a couple of the rougher looking assets, so yeah, the ones with a bit more scuffed up decals and things like that, broken down cars occasionally out the front, but in general use the slightly more well maintained assets to flesh out this area. And then I have also just added in a very small commercial strip across here, just low density, using mostly the University Content Creator Packs, and then just a selection of small local shops and little eatery garage here on this other side as well, because I feel like that would be needed quite close to the park here. And one thing I have just noticed while I've been doing that is that loads of traffic is using this bit of the road and not this one. So what I would like to do here is just adjust the speed limits. So here, this road is 50 at the moment and this one's 40. So they're obviously just thinking, well, that's a cut through and taking that route. So what I would like to do here is just up this. And I think I'm just going to go right up, honestly, to 90. Which may be excessive here, but I think it will do. I think let's slow it down just towards this bridge here so that it's not such a sudden transition. But hopefully that'll get more people moving up and down this road. And I will, of course, go down as well and take off all of these traffic lights so that we don't have them. Make sure we've got our give way signs on and also dedicated turning lanes so we can try and minimise any traffic disruption from these turnings, but hopefully that'll stop people from just cutting through on the small road. And of course the other thing is that's now the second house I've just seen burning down. We also do need to bring in some services down here as well. So in this little area just out towards the quarry, I'm just going to bring out a very, very small service area. And we'll come through and do detailing on that in a second. But I think the last thing to do before detailing is our nature reserve actually leveled up as I was putting in the residential. So we're now on level 2. We've got enough entertainment even to get to level 3 here, which is great news. But what I would like to do is just introduce some more path networks before we come through and do detailing on the other areas. Now this nature reserve is definitely going to be a work in progress, so we will absolutely come back to it, and there's going to be quite a lot of blank spaces, but for now we'll dress it up as best we can whilst leaving room for more development within it. But what I would like to do is bring this nature trail still down along the water's front here, almost going right up to the back of this quarry. And ideal world, what I would do is bring the path all the way around and around the outside, but it's just not going to be possible with this rock formation. So we will just leave it like that. But then what I will do is, as well, is just create some other connections, and fairly loose connections, just like that, so that we've got more areas that we can develop off later on in the game. And then the assets that we did unlock at the leveling up are actually the viewing platforms. So what I would like to do here is just add in one that can sit nicely over the lake over this side. So I'm thinking, yeah, this nice long one here. And we are going to have to move some of this grass out the way. So there we go. So we do now have it sitting above that grass decal. And I think that looks pretty good, hanging out over the lake there on this bend. And what we can do as well is just one more, I think, further down this way near the campsite. And what I'll do here is just a tiny bit of gravel just leading out to that viewing platform so that it looks connected to the path like that. So now with that, I am going to come through and detail up this area. And there we have it. So what I have done is, I mean, really not too much detailing around the houses. I have brought in fencing and some hedging just to give some of these backyards. I haven't done too much prop detailing within the backyards just yet. We have obviously extended the primary school there, so just given them an extra playground, a couple of picnic benches and just some trees and foliage there. Obviously brought the fencing round that is already with the building there. I think this park has fitted in quite nicely actually here in the middle. Again, just helps to make it just look a little bit different to how it comes just from regularly plopping it down. Again, a few more fencing and backyard detail there. We have brought in walls all the way around the commercial here to give a back to all of those commercial buildings. And then if I just come over to the ore first off. So we have just added in lots more rock decals all the way around. I mean, really, I haven't done too much here because I didn't want to clutter it. We've got these ore extractors down the bottom here. And I think that's actually kind of plenty. Just with these extra rock decals, I think definitely helps to give it that worn quarry type of feel. So generally pretty happy with how that has come out. Over here we've just added in lots of fencing to give it a kind of compound look. Again, added this fencing around the front, so we've got this main entrance there so people can't just walk in and out of the factory area there. And then if we come on over here, so I have just done lots of flower arrangements around these car parks to make it look quite nice. Completely changed up the tax office. I got rid of the parking lots, obviously not needed here. Got this fountain out front with a couple of benches and some planters, and using lots of the new trees from the update here. And Mr. Maison has done an amazing job on these because I absolutely love literally all of them. It's really hard to just pick some. These jacarandas are absolutely amazing. So yeah, we've turned these into a little feature here, just to give it a nice kind of feature garden with a few benches pointing out, looking up the hill towards the memorial, just at the back of the tax office there. I have benched off this area. We have got a rogue tree sitting within the area there, so I'll just move that back just to give it a little bit of a cafe area before you head up the long walk up to the memorial up here. So up here we haven't really done too much other than swap the trees out for the new ones and done this repeated bush pattern all the way along the edge of the car park and all the way down the path here, because the idea being that I wanted to keep this completely open without any height so that we've got that flow down towards the downtown view there. And the one thing that is slightly annoying is just with this theme, the texture of the grass is just slightly ruined. And that's not something actually that we can get rid of. I did try putting down some grass networks to give that astroph kind of really bright green grass feel, but it on a slope like this it just doesn't work, and coming onto the rocks at the edge I just couldn't get it to look nice, so I scrapped that and we will go with this. But I think in general it's looking all right. And if we just do a little view check, this run down to the tax office I think is looking pretty awesome. And right about there we will have the main pinnacle of the skyline. So when that comes in I will definitely be returning here to check on that. But yeah, I think overall it's come out okay. I've done a couple of like the rock falls just sticking out a little bit over here with a mixture of trees in it to try and blend it in a little bit more. And similar down this side we have just lots of rock coming up those cliff textures. So it looks like it could be a bit of a man-made mound, but equally trying to make it look a little bit more natural than just having the themed cliff texture, which doesn't look the best when there's loads of it like around this place. But I think overall that's okay. I haven't done anything extra to the nature reserve. We will be coming around and upgrading that as it upgrades, so there'll be more to do in that area. So for today, that is going to be it. But as this is episode 10, I will be putting the save file up on the Steam Workshop, so you can find a link to that in the description below. If you have enjoyed this video, please do remember to whack that like button. It really, really helps me out. And drop me a comment, let me know what you thought. Any suggestions for any names for this suburb, the nature reserve, the quarry. Still need to name the power plant and a few other areas. So let me know if there's any suggestions for those, and we'll do some more naming in the next episode. But that is it from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. Bye bye!